author of several titles, including Jennifer the She-Wolf, The Day They Made Contact, and many more. Louis, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So you have several titles. You have your own kind of comic book imprint, Cruzin Comics.
Yes.
People can find that on different social media platforms. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name, well, you know my name. I'm physically disabled. I grew up here in New York, in the Bronx, and I just like having fun at anything and everything I do, man.
That's
I only
awesome.
live once.
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of told me when we first messaged about your disability. So you
Yes.
have kind of overcome a lot, because just seeing you on screen, people can't tell. But
No.
you've overcome a lot to get to the place you are, because you have written and drawn for comics, and you have no hands.
No, I have hands. They just
Okay.
don't function.
Well,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
don't function. Yeah. They don't function like yours. I have something that is diagnosed as arthrogryposis, which is a curvature of the joints and muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took to writing, and I don't draw my comic books. I send it to an artist, but I used to draw sketches for them to, to get the idea.
Right.
But I do all that with my mouth.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an inspiration. I went to high school with a gentleman who had the same condition, I believe, as you. And I mean, again, he was just such an inspiration for all that he was able to overcome. But when you messaged me about, like, hey, this is what I do, would you be interested? I was like, heck yeah. Like, I mean, who wouldn't want to hear this story? I mean, this is amazing. And then when you sent me your books, I mean, your books are good too. So, I mean,
Thank you.
no problem.
Thank you. I mean, I walk a certain distance, but if I told you how that happened, you probably wouldn't believe me. I was involved in a car accident with my grandparents, and when they opened the back of the station wagon when I was about 8 years old, I took my first steps.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. After a car accident.
yeah.
That's crazy.
I was already standing and everything, but never walking. And the
Wow.
doctor said that it was the nervous reaction.
And it just kind of propelled you to
Yeah,
do it. Wow. That's amazing.
yeah.
I do
Thank
want
you,
to
yeah.
say we are live on all social media platforms. We can see just about everybody's comments. I have Instagram pulled up on my phone here, so we can see comments. And if you are on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, you can type comments in, and they should display on our restream feeds for us to see. So if you have comments for Louis out there, feel free to comment, and we'll try to get to it. But let's talk comics, man. Have you always been a fan of comics?
Yes. I've always been a fan. Always collected it. I love reading them.
Yeah, Marvel or DC or both, or what's your?
I like Marvel characters, but the DC stories are always better.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a DC man. We were talking before we went live and about our disappointment and what's happening with DC right now, but I have faith that eventually they'll get back on track.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, either that or there won't be a DC anymore.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first comic book?
Oh, wow.
Or what's the earliest comic book you remember?
Warlord.
Warlord.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at what people say. Like, everybody, I don't know that I've heard the same
Marvel?
comic book title twice out of somebody I've interviewed. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Warlord. Yeah. And of course the X titles.
Yeah. Those are some. Superman is what my first one that I remember, and then X-Men right after that, because my brother, I have an older brother. My mom bought me a Superman card. Well, she didn't buy it for me. She got it for free from a mall and brought it home to me. She was like, this is free. I'll give it to this kid. And my brother got the comic books that were bought because he was 6 years older than me. So if he ruined them, he would get in trouble. If I ruined a free one, it didn't matter. But I've always loved looking at his X-Men comic books. So a lot of people like comic books, right? I mean, like, a lot of people. Not everybody makes their own comic book. So what led you to that, man? And we'll get talking about some of your titles in a minute. But what brought you to the point of deciding, hey, I'm going to make a comic book?
Two things. One, I wanted to do something else as a career, which my doctor told me that would be impossible to do, which was I wanted to be a police officer. When you're young, that's the first thing you think of. and he told me that would be impossible. Excuse me. And so he encouraged me to follow my art. And then when I didn't know where to take my art to, I started going to Comic Cons, and I met these guys, Mass Media Studios. And I met these guys, and they were so cool about it. And I met this other artist named Miguel. Also, he worked with me at a community center, and he was putting together his own book. So I took steps from him and the guys at Mass Media, which are Anibal, Jonathan Syfax, and Jorge Medina. And every time I went to a con, I would look for them or whatever, and we would chat and talk or whatever. They actually became good buddies of mine. I'm actually doing, Anibal is doing a cover for me for an upcoming novel. And Jorge does my lettering.
Oh, cool.
And so I've kept in contact with them. They're just fantastic guys. And then I met Mr. Warren from Valiant, and he told me the best way to break into comics is to do your own stuff, get recognized through that. And so that's what I've done.
That's really cool.
It's got me to work for 2 other independents, which was Art Comics. And the reason why I looked up is to have them hanging on my wall. Art Comics and another one called what was it? NAS Media, NAS, which I did Werewolf versus Zombies. It was called The Cursed and the Damned.
So I got to ask then, who won, the werewolves or the zombies?
I never got to complete the.
Oh no!
I wrote the first one, and he was like, "No, he didn't." I don't know. That was it. After I wrote the first one, I had it all. Lined up.
Now there's this cliffhanger in my brain, and I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go.
I mean, he can. I'm pretty sure he continued with another writer, but I know really? I had it all planned out real cool.
Well. Oh, well, I guess we'll never know, because we don't want to read some other writer's rendition of it. So let's talk about Cruzin Comics and your titles so far. You got Jennifer the She-Wolf. You have Blood Kill. You just put out a novel. I don't know if that's considered as part of your Cruzin Comics imprint or not.
No, the novel, which one?
The Day They Made Contact, and then you have Fuel of Life too, or
Right.
Yeah.
Fuel of Life. The Day They Made Contact was published by Darkfire Press, my publisher. Nice. Very good friend of mine of J.M. DeSantis. And the next title is an illustrated book called Fuel of Life, which I sent you a head copy, because I do have it out there, but it's not this one. I just needed a bigger, broader audience for it.
So that one hasn't been released yet, broadly.
Not fully. No.
Nice.
No.
It's so let me stop you there, because it's a really neat book. I didn't get to read all of it. I read excerpts and looked at the art in it, and just the way you have it set up with story and then art here. It's really good. I'm looking forward to having some more time to actually read it all out, because it seems really awesome.
Thank you.
No problem. And so if you're out there, bug Lewis after this about how you can get a copy, how you can buy a copy, because it looks really cool. And the art in it's spectacular.
It won't be out till about November. That's the publishing date, yeah.
Okay, very good. So we'll be on the lookout for that.
It's basically, the premise to that is basically, what if our blood was used by aliens to fuel their ship?
Yep.
Our blood is their fuel. We call them vampires, but they didn't want us for blood. They wanted to escape our planet. It's a new take on vampires.
It's a cool thing. Everybody out there, look for that coming down the line. It's a great cross, I feel, between comics and a novel, because you get good full page art in there still, and a good written story. So way to go, Lewis. Really good.
Thank you. I also wrote an erotic story from a handicap's point of view, exactly like that.
Really?
Yeah, that's become popular in the UK for some reason.
Huh. What's that title called?
What is called? Yes. Where is it? It's called The Workout.
Oh, really?
Erotica from The Workout. Erotica from a handicap's point of view.
That's pretty fun, man. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. People ask me, is it based on a true story? I tell them I don't kiss and tell. I like the hell out of it.
I love it, man. I love it. So, Cruzin Comics got two comic books so far, right? Jennifer the She-Wolf and Bloodkill. Tell us about them.
Bloodkill is more of a preview book. Bloodkill I created when I was about 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before I knew how to do comics. I just created this character. I wrote him out. And he's basically a New York cop who gets shot up and a spirit takes over him, an ancient spirit. But now the body of that ancient spirit is looking for his spirit back, and he wants it back. And Jennifer the She-Wolf is a vampire who was turned against her will back in the 1920s. Mm-hmm. And she left behind her daughter and her son. And in today's time, she's also a detective, New York. And she's going to be going through a little hell before she realizes what's going on.
I can see your childhood passion of becoming a police officer in these books.
Yes. And I also include a physically disabled person in all my stories.
Oh, fun.
I try.
That's really cool, man. So
because we exist. We exist.
Right, yeah. Yeah. And so, a big thing on Indie Comics Dispatch here is always trying to give maybe voice and audience to underrepresented populations, especially underrepresented within the comic book industry. And so you're right. I mean, like, handicapped, disabled people are never really featured. If they are, they're always healed. Like, there's always something that happens to them to make them, quote unquote, whole again. And that's some bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah, Professor X is probably about the only one, but he's got amazing brain power. I mean, like,
like the next story I want to do with is down the line is how you got gamers that play video games all day. Well, imagine a female gamer playing, and all of a sudden lightning hits her house, but that lightning isn't lightning. It's an alien that traveled, hits her motorized wheelchair. Her wheelchair now becomes alive, and it becomes like an Iron Man suit for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wrote that out. I wrote that out really, really good, and I'm dying for that to catch up to that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Very cool. So Jennifer the She-Wolf, I want to touch on that briefly because that is, I really liked that, reading that premise of this woman in the 1920s getting turned into a werewolf against her will, and kind of she can't do shit about it. Like, she's just stuck. She's got to walk away from everything she knows and just go with this guy who turned her into a werewolf. And so really neat premise there. We just got a comment on YouTube. I can never say this, but Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road was also disabled. Somebody said on YouTube. JM said. So interesting point, okay. JM. Very good.
Thank you, JM.
Yeah. So there's 2 issues so far of Jennifer the She-Wolf. Is that right?
No, unfortunately, there's one because there was a publisher that was going to pick it up and wasn't happy with the first art. I had to go back into it and redo the art, which cost me time and resources. And so it's got a little delay. I'm working on number 2 now, faster, hopefully, and that should be out before the end of the year. Great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll send you a copy.
Thank you. So, what was the path? We kind of already talked about how you got into comics, but once you decided to get into comics, what was the path to bringing your first comic to life? Let's talk about that for a minute for people out there who may be wishing and dreaming they have this idea and they want to bring it to life. What was your path of bringing your first book to life? You've talked about some of the partnerships and some of the people you've met along the way, but once you decided to do it, how did it get done?
It took a lot of research how to do a comic, how to get it together, who to send it to for putting it into a physical book. I went with Kablam, of course. The process to that is not as easy as it looks. I mean, I write the script, send it to the artist. At the same time the artist is doing it, I also send it to the letterer. So it's a slow process. It like the first issue was a learning tool for me. So, and mind you, the first issue, the only reason I also have only 1 issue of Jennifer is because at the same time I started doing Bloodkill. I also started doing another one called Alpha. I started getting all these ideas for different titles, which I had to put together. And then at the same time, I kind of met JM a few years later, and I wanted to get a novel that I wrote back in 2008 out there. So that was back and forth there. So I was a little busy guy.
Yeah. A lot going on there, man.
Yeah.
So did you end up doing any Kickstarter funding, or is this just all self-funded? No.
No Kickstarter. This was all me. Wow. This was all me, no Kickstarter. Okay. And I don't even have a webpage, and I've been doing pretty good. I've gotten on local news channels twice.
Oh, cool.
I've participated with the mass media guys at Comic-Con on their table. So I've been lucky and I guess blessed in a way.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of communication, I've learned. It's all a matter of how you present yourself.
Yeah, getting the word out there and working those connections. If I was actually broadcast on Monday night, but I was did an interview yesterday with Christian, I can't even say his last name. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to butcher it. And he wrote a book called It's a Living, about how to freelance. And that's one of the points that he made too. It's just, it's how you present yourself and the communication and just putting yourself out there. And that's a really good point. I didn't even know you didn't have a website.
No, I don't.
That's awesome.
No website at all.
That's cool that you've managed to do it without one. I mean, because I think some people think a website is almost a crutch to them. Like they think if once I get the website, then my books will sell. And you got to hustle it before then to get those books to sell.
Yeah. Like with the Day They Made Contact, I've been pretty lucky. It's selling.
Yeah.
It's selling. And I notice it gets maybe a spike every time I do one of these.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Well, here's a perfect chance to plug it. If you haven't read The Day They Made Contact, where can they get it?
They can get it from Darkfire Press.
Okay.
Their website directly. Amazon.
Good.
Barnes & Noble. All the major retailers.
Very good.
It's pretty much yeah.
So I know you guys are out there. You're watching this interview. You can open a new tab and go to Amazon or go to Barnes & Noble and start adding this to your cart right now. Come on, y'all. So
it's pure sci-fi, guys. Believe me.
Yeah,
pure sci-fi.
If you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, you can actually see the cover of it on the right hand of your screen there. That's the cover of The Day They Made Contact. That's the novel that Lewis has out. So go find it and read it. So are you following any other indie comics right now?
I like Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Until recently they lost Predator and Alien.
Yeah, that sucks.
I also follow what's his name? What's her name? Not she. I'm sorry, Lady Death.
Oh yeah. Very cool.
And I actually have a photo of him sitting on my wheelchair.
Really?
At one of the cons. Yeah, he's a real cool guy.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I also have a video of Todd McFarlane driving my motorized wheelchair.
So where were you at?
New York. I walk, so
that's right.
Told him
right.
Ride. Yeah. So cool. He sat on, he drove it around, and he kept saying line cutter. But that made me very friendly with him because every time I go to a show, he'll like shout me out, Louis, come up front. You know what I'm saying? Or cut the line, come up front.
That's cool. He seems like a real cool guy. Like he seems
so down to earth. Yeah, he's down to earth, man. He's real. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like one time we left, he was talking on one of the panels, and I walked out the door with him. We were talking, and all of a sudden he gets bombarded by people. So he has security came up to him. He goes, no, I got this. And then he says, Louis, just give me a minute. Stand right there. And I gave him a book to sign right there on the spot also. And he was like, wait, got to sign my man, Louis.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
Real cool guy, man. Yeah, McFarlane is awesome.
That's really cool. So if you could do a crossover between, let's say, Jennifer the She-Wolf and any other indie book, what would it be?
Oof.
Or hell, any other comic book, period, what would it be?
I would like to, honestly, Batman.
Yeah? That'd be cool. Yeah. I didn't even think, my mind didn't even go that direction, but her being a detective, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, like they would meet each other and they don't, like he has no idea what she can do.
Uh-huh.
She has no idea what he can do, you know.
Yeah.
But as Batman, he's like the perfect detective, and she'll meet, you know, like she'll get temporarily put in Gotham City for a little while, you know,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That'd be
I thought
fantastic.
of it. I thought of it. I would also love to do a Darkwing Duck, Predator book. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck, and my kids don't really
Me
know
too.
Darkwing Duck that well, but every now and then I'll just go, let's get dangerous. And they're like,
Yes, yes.
Dad, shut up.
I think that would be such a cool crossover, man.
Who do you think would win, Darkwing Duck or Predator?
I'm gonna go with Darkwing.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Darkwing.
Oh, so again, there's people out there right now. They're going, man, I want to make a comic book. What is one piece of advice you would give to somebody out there who's wanting to make their first comic book?
Don't take no, and don't give up. Do not take no as an answer. That word does not exist in my vocabulary list, and do not. If this is your dream, don't give up. If you want to write a novel and you're not there yet, do a comic book on the side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. Keep your writing skills. Be open minded about what you're writing, and get it done.
That's great.
Always see the finished product, and just pace yourself till you get to that finish.
That's so true, because so many people, they start something and then they kind of get overwhelmed by the process and then they walk away. But you're right, you gotta see it through, pace yourself. That's great advice. I love that. So JM just said that on YouTube, one of my favorite creators is Todd McFarlane. Would love to sit down with him and pick his brain. Me too, JM. Hey Todd, if you're out there watching, because I know you follow me, love to interview you sometime. Look, Lewis is on. You could be on too, Todd. All right. So what's next for you? What's coming down the line? You said Jennifer the She-Wolf is out. Number 2 is hopefully out later this year. What's next after that?
I have a book called Rainbow, but not. It's actually I'm in the process of writing it. I'm in chapter 4. Rainbow, not spelled the way RAIN, but it's REIGN, because this character will reign over the land of Bo.
Oh wow, that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, and he's a physically disabled kid like me, except he can't walk. But a rainbow lands in his backyard. You know how they said you can never find the beginning or end of a rainbow?
Mm-hmm.
This one lands in his backyard, and when he goes for a closer look, these arms grab him and pulls him in. When he wakes up, he's physically normal.
Oh wow.
He can't figure out why, but the whole story is that he came from that world. But in order for him to, there was a war that happened there where he was royalty and he escaped. But at the same time escaping, for him to come into our world, you have to be born into our world at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And a wizard cursed him to be physically disabled in our world.
Mm-hmm.
But in that world, he will reign over the land of Bo.
That's really cool. When do you expect that to drop?
I'm in chapter 4. I'm hoping. I don't know. It depends on the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I give it to Darkfire Press, or I'm also looking for an agent to represent that one, because I feel that one is I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that they didn't make contact as much as I'm loving this one, but that one touches close to me.
Yeah,
because it opens up with the whole disability thing and how he was born and everything, which I touched on with me.
Right. That's really cool.
I've given samples out, and everybody's come back with like, "Where's chapter 4?" It's coming. It's coming.
That's awesome. Reminds me maybe like in my brain, just like a mashup of Wizard of Oz meets Lord of the Rings type deal, almost like.
That would be dope.
I'd read that shit.
Thank you. That's what Anibal is working on, Anibal Arroyo
on the cover.
The cover I told you,
nice.
For sample. I want to give out samples and get people's feedback. Yeah.
Before we get off here in just a few minutes, we were talking before we went live about your room back there. Tell us about everything going on behind you. I love it back there.
That's just one scene. That's my Star Wars collection.
Yeah.
I am a huge Star Wars. It's what influenced me. there's three movies that influenced me, and that Star Wars. I'm probably aging myself here. Star Wars, Superman, the original.
Yeah.
And Dark Crystal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I love the series that came out recently. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. You and my older brother would get along perfectly. Other than the Superman, that's where you and I would get along. So, Louis, before we get off, tell people where they can go buy your books and how can other ways they can support you.
Darkfire Press has my novel and my upcoming novel coming soon by them, Full of Life. You can find me at Amazon. Type up Cruzin Comics, or titles should show up, or just type up the individual titles for digital copies. Indie Planet has both digital and physical copies. You just type up the name, it comes up. However, the erotic story it's exclusive on Amazon.
Okay.
No, yeah, I don't think I put it up on Indie Planet.
Sounds good.
If you like erotica, get it. I'm telling you.
I mean, come on. If we're honest, who doesn't like erotica?
Exactly. It won't disappoint you. People have been asking me to write another one, but I don't feel comfortable writing stuff like that. Well, somebody dared me to write that, so that's what I did.
But look, it's gaining traction. You said in the UK.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, Louis, thank you so very much for being here today. I have really enjoyed this. This has been a great time. Guys, if you're out there and you're looking for some cool stories to read, look Louis up on the various platforms he said to look him up on, Darkfire Press, Amazon, some of the major book chains for his novel. Indie Planet for his comics. It's worth it. And you could spend $3-4 whatever bucks on a latte. You could also spend it supporting an indie artist by buying their comic book. So try that out and brew the coffee at home tomorrow morning and read a good book. Louis, thank you again for being here, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, we'll see you next time, everybody.